Not every soul deserves access to your peace. Not every woman qualifies for your time, energy, or trust. There are women whose presence lifts you, sharpens you, aligns you. And then there are others, equally charming, who quietly erode your foundation while smiling sweetly in your face. They don't arrive with warning signs. They don't stomp into your life wearing chaos on their sleeves. They come dressed in elegance, smelling of perfume, and speaking in soft tones. But what they carry with them is confusion, unrest, and emotional erosion masked as affection. They drain, not with violence, but with subtlety. Your focus fades, your confidence unravels, your inner silence is constantly disturbed. You think it's love. It feels like passion. But if you examine it through the lens of reason, you'll realize it's a slow collapse. A low-value woman isn't just someone who doesn't fit. She is, quite frankly, hazardous. And the real tragedy, she often appears when you're most open, when your guard is lowered by desire, loneliness, or the longing to build something meaningful. But Stoicism teaches us that peace isn't given. It is earned and fiercely protected. You must choose your company as carefully as a general chooses his allies, because a woman without inner stillness will sabotage yours, and do so with the elegance of an actress playing the role of the one. You don't recognize the damage at first. It creeps in slowly. A casual insult here, a manipulative silence there. You find yourself over-explaining, apologizing for things you never did, doubting your own sense of judgment. She says she loves you, but somehow you're always the one left unsteady, unsure, emotionally drained. She creates storms where there was once calm, not because she's passionate, but because tranquility terrifies her. Where the Stoic man seeks inner stability, she seeks emotional highs, chaos, and power struggles. She turns peaceful moments into battlegrounds, because to her, peace is too quiet. It reminds her of her own inner disorder. A woman who has not healed her emotional wounds will bleed on the hands of the man trying to love her. And if she finds thrill in emotional turbulence, she will unconsciously manufacture chaos just to feel alive. Her wounds become your war. You're drafted into a battle you never signed up for, and if you're not grounded in Stoic discipline, you'll confuse her chaos for complexity, her instability for depth. And that's the first thing you must understand. A woman who is emotionally chaotic will stir the same turmoil in your life. She feeds off tension because it makes her feel alive. But that energy, it's parasitic. If you're not careful, you'll find yourself walking on mental eggshells, adjusting your tone, filtering your thoughts, not because you want to grow, but to avoid her next explosion. That's not love. That's a performance you've been coerced into. Some women speak of drama like it's seasoning. I just like a little tension, they'll say, as if mental confusion is cute. But that isn't passion. That's disorder. Stoicism reminds us that peace is not found in chaos. It's found through rational living, through aligning yourself with values, not impulses. A woman worth your time will protect your calm, not disturb it. She won't bait you into conflict just to feel wanted. She'll stand beside you, not against you. A woman of worth knows the difference between excitement and destruction. She doesn't romanticize toxic patterns. She doesn't view arguments as evidence of passion. Her energy feels like clarity, not confusion. And that's a subtle but vital distinction. A low-value woman may excite your senses, but she exhausts your spirit. She leaves you drained, not because she's demanding, but because she's disorganized internally. And yet there's a second kind of low-value behavior you must learn to see, the insatiable thirst for external approval. You could pour every ounce of loyalty into her, praise her, support her, stand by her as a fortress of consistency. But for some, that's never enough, because their worth isn't measured by your love, but by how many strangers applaud them. Their mirror isn't internal, it's the crowd. The attention of one man cannot compete with the validation of many. Her identity depends on external noise, not internal clarity. Social media becomes her battleground. Her timeline is not a reflection of life, it's a performance. Every picture meticulously curated, every post designed to draw likes, stares, and inbox invitations. And when you raise concerns, she'll accuse you of being insecure. "It's just a picture," she'll say, as if you're overreacting. But the truth lies in her priorities. If she values public validation over private respect, then your relationship is just another stage prop. And what's worse, you'll become invisible over time, seen, but not valued. She thrives in environments where she is admired, not known, where attention flows but intimacy dies. You'll feel more like an audience member than a partner. And slowly, you begin to fade. Not because you've changed, but because her need for the spotlight is louder than her capacity for connection. A woman grounded in herself doesn't need to be seen by everyone. She only needs to be understood by one man she respects. That's alignment. That's depth. That's Stoicism in action. A detachment from ego, a rejection of vanity, and a devotion to what's real. But when a woman is addicted to validation, no man can anchor her. You're just another applause she'll tire of once the spotlight shifts. And it gets darker. Some of them refuse accountability. Everything that goes wrong, somehow it's your fault. She starts the fire, then hands you the extinguisher and says you let it burn. She manipulates reality to avoid responsibility. She cheated. "It's because you were distant," she yelled. "It's because you made her mad." Her life is full of problems, but never once does the mirror hold the villain. That's because she's built her identity around blame. And you become her most convenient scapegoat. This kind of blame isn't just frustrating, it's dangerous. It distorts your reality. You begin to internalize problems that aren't yours. You walk around carrying emotional baggage that never belonged to you. Over time, you don't just doubt her, you start doubting yourself. That's psychological warfare, and it chips away at your sense of identity. You'll begin to wonder if you really are the problem. You'll carry the guilt for her failures, the weight for her decisions, the burden for her chaos. But let me remind you of this ancient principle from the Stoics. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. You are not responsible for someone who refuses to take ownership of her own life. You cannot heal what will not face itself. A wise man does not chain himself to someone else's emotional blindness. If she cannot look in the mirror and confront her part, then she will never grow, and you will only be dragged down. And sometimes her tactics are not loud. Sometimes they're quiet, subtle, calculated. Emotional manipulation doesn't always come with shouting. It comes with silence, with cold stares, with phrases like "it's fine," when clearly it's not. You begin to change, not to grow, but to avoid the discomfort of her disapproval. You cancel plans not because you want to, but because you feel guilty for making them in the first place. Your life starts shrinking. You find yourself compromising boundaries just to avoid emotional withdrawal. But that's not partnership. That's puppetry. That's manipulation through emotion, not through logic, not through conversation. And each time you bend, she tightens her grip. Stoicism teaches us to respond, not react, to lead with reason, not guilt. A woman of value will speak her truth calmly, not expect you to read her silence. If you have to decode her moods like riddles just to keep the peace, then what you have is not love, it's emotional control. Another sign is more philosophical in nature. She has no direction, no internal compass, no personal vision. Her life is an endless stream of distractions. She avoids commitment, not just in love, but in every aspect of her existence. Her finances are in chaos. Her career lacks structure. Her days are consumed with pleasures, not plans. She says she's spontaneous, but really, she's just lost. And if you're not careful, you'll become her plan. She'll lean on your structure, depend on your discipline, treat your ambition like a lifeboat. But a woman who cannot guide her own life cannot help you lead yours. You'll be pulled into her instability and blamed for it when things collapse. A Stoic man must ask, does she seek joy or does she build meaning? Is she building something, or is she simply avoiding responsibility under the mask of freedom? And finally, perhaps most dangerously, she does not respect masculinity. She competes with it. She challenges your authority not to find balance, but to assert dominance. Every boundary you set becomes a threat. Every decision you make is met with resistance, not because you're controlling, but because she fears what she cannot control. Maybe her past taught her that men are dangerous, Or maybe she's never learned to trust strength that is gentle. But in her world, a man who leads is not respected. He is resented. She views your leadership not as support, but as a rival force. She interprets guidance as oppression and resents compromise as submission. What she calls independence is often a mask for a deeply rooted resistance to unity. She doesn't want a partner. She wants power. And the closer you move toward harmony, the more she pulls toward control. And what happens? You begin to shrink. You lower your voice. You stop offering direction. You question your instincts. Not because you lost your way, but because you've been taught that being a man is somehow offensive. That your presence is too strong. But let me say this clearly. Masculinity, in its true form, is not aggression. It is order. It is calm under pressure. It is reason in the face of chaos. And any woman who cannot honor that is not fit to build with a man who leads with discipline. A real relationship is not a competition. It is a collaboration. Two people pulling in the same direction, not wrestling over control. A woman who sees your strength as a threat will always sabotage the unity. She doesn't want a teammate. She wants a throne. And no matter how gentle you are, how patient you remain, she will view your leadership as domination. So now ask yourself, have you ever dulled your edge to keep a woman from feeling insecure? Have you ever made yourself small so she could feel big? That is not what love demands. That is what fear enforces. You are not made to apologize for being grounded. You are made to stand firm in the truth of who you are. And the right woman will see that not as a danger, but as a blessing. If any part of this speaks to your experience, don't ignore it. Recognizing these traits is not judgment, it is wisdom. Stoicism teaches us that we must guard our peace, discipline our choices, and never allow emotional chaos to cloud our reason. The wrong woman will cost you more than time. She'll cost you yourself. Choose wisely, not with your eyes, but with your values. Not by charm, but by character. And remember, the soul you protect today is the life you preserve tomorrow. Stay grounded, stay aware, and never sacrifice your peace for beauty disguised as burden.